Hi guys, I am back with another video. I haven't done a healing or vlog video for a while, so so my name is Mimi. If you're new here, welcome. If you're coming back, welcome back to my channel. Let's get on to the video. One of the things that some of us we have to face or we find to be very difficult on the spiritual journey is healing our parental wounds. Some of us have parental wounds and some of us don't. A lot of us, was raised in a toxic home. The relationship with our parents was toxic, or we never had a healthy relationship with our parents, and we find ourselves in our spiritual journey healing some of those wounds. A lot of time you will start to realize the things that you deal with, the emotions that you have dealt with, the way you respond to people, the actions you take, the people you allow in your energy or you build bond with was due to childhood wounds and parental wounds. Meaning if you had mommy issues or daddy issues, if you wasn't raised with a mother or a father, those type of relationship or those type of bonds that we miss in our life can affect us in a good way or in a bad way. As a woman and a mother, the most difficult part for me on my journey is not having a healthy bond with my mother. I think I speak about my situation or my situation with my mother on here a lot, and it's not to like put anyone down or whatever. It's just to pinpoint out sometimes the way we respond in society, the way we deal with certain relationship or friendship is due to some issues that we have, with our mothers. As a mother myself, I noticed like back then, me and my mother never really had a good or a healthy relationship. Matter of fact, we don't even have a relationship at all. And I think the most difficult part about this is because I spent years, a good portion of my life trying to have that bond or trying to have that relationship, to the point that when I start to grow up and I start to become my own person, I start to really attract female figures, like friendship, the same way as my mother. I never had a relationship with my own mother. We never had a healthy relationship. Matter of fact, till this day, we never had we still don't have a relationship, as of today. And I think that was the most difficult part on my spiritual journey when it comes to like healing our mother issues or our father issues. A lot of times society have a way of making us accept the way our parents treat us. And I believe, as a mother myself, I believe the way our parents is a big, plays a big role in on our journey, on our human experience or spiritual experience. It's the major key to our journey. And a lot of times we tend to sometimes stay, or even the situation with our parents or our mother is toxic, we tend to stay in that situation because society say so. Sometimes when our parents do something or we have a misunderstanding, the first thing society people will say is, well, that's your mother or that's your father, as if like you were supposed to accept everything. And it's not until I got on the spiritual journey and I start removing different layers about me, and I start to realize I wasn't raised in a healthy environment at all. Matter of fact, my relationship with my mother was very toxic, and again, like I said, we till this day we still don't have a relationship, and I think it played a major part in my life, my relationships also, because I didn't have that first relationship, which is my mother. Growing up in a toxic household, or not having that that bond with your mother, to me, at first, as a young child, I didn't think it was affecting me as much until I start healing, and until I start growing up and having a child of my own. I used to hold a big grudge over, with regarding my both of my parents, but my mom also. I was holding a grudge because I felt like our relationship was not fair. Like, I wasn't treated fairly. Like, I felt like she didn't understand me, and she wasn't trying to understand me, and I blamed her a lot for a lot of things. I really did, because I felt like maybe if she would have treated me this way, or maybe if she would have acted this way, maybe I would understand this better, or maybe I would have acted this way, I wouldn't act this way. And when I was a little bit younger, I felt like I had anger issues, and the anger issues came from that situation, and when you're young, and you just living life, you never really sit back and look at your reactions, your decision making as a young adult, is due to the way you've been treated at home, like the bond you have with your parents or with your mother are very, very, very important. It really does affect us, with our attitude, like I said, with our decision making, or just basically the people that we attract is due to that. So I spent years of my life, blaming, my mother for a lot of things that happens in my life. Any decisions that I made, good or bad, I blame her for a lot of things, because I felt like if our relationship was better, if she would have just understand me, maybe this wouldn't happen, or that wouldn't happen, or things would be much easier, like my path, my human experience, or my spiritual path would have been much easier. But it took a while for me to deal with that, because I like I said, I felt like I was the black sheep of my family. Like, people didn't really understand me. My father didn't really understand me. I don't, really have, I never felt like I belong, and she never made me feel like I belong, to the point I used to question if she was even my mother, and that was something that I always had in back of my mind, because we didn't have that connection. And I used to really envy other people that have those type of relationship with their mother, have healthy relationship with their mother, because I didn't have that. And the fact that I didn't have that healthy relationship with my mother, I think it kind of affect the way I am, as a friend back then. Like, it affect my friendship, how I blame her. And, it kind of, I question my own parenthood, like my own, me being a mother. I tend to question myself a lot back then, how I am as a mother. Am I a good mother myself? So a lot of things that, I grew up seeing, in my household, or with the women in my family, those things do follow us. And sometimes when we have issues, like family issues that we never address, it goes unnoticed. We don't talk about it. We just, it's just everyone just going about their business, act like it never happened. And after a while, those things pile up. those things pile up, and it does affect me. And I realize that it always had affect me. I never actually you know felt like I was giving a chance to even hear my side, or to even show them or show her who I am, like what was hurting me, what was affecting me, what she did was affecting me, because it just felt like I didn't belong, and I didn't know, like I didn't really know, in deep down in my heart, I didn't feel like she was my mother. I never had that feeling, and I hid that part of me for a very long time, because sometimes you're ashamed to tell people things like that. You afraid to say it out loud, to say, oh, I don't have a connection with my mother, and I never did. I used to, force. It affected a lot of my relationship, and it affected me in a very big way, because like I said, I was a very angry child. I was angry a lot of times. I was really defensive. I always felt like someone was picking on me, or I always feel like I have to defend myself, I have to stand up for myself, because that's how they used to make me feel in the family, and that's how, especially her, she used to make me feel. So I carried that energy throughout my whole childhood, and being on this spiritual journey made me realize, like, I don't have to hold on to that. I don't have to carry on that, and I was so afraid to disconnect with my mother or my parents, and I was so afraid to tell people these things, because again, we raise in a society that forces us to, even though we don't have a relationship, we were, it's like I was being forced to accept certain abuse, and it, to the point, like, I'm like, well, this is normal, until I got on this journey, and I was like, no, this is not normal. It's affecting me. It's affecting me spiritually, mentally. Like, it was affecting me. So I know I had to make some type of changes, because if I want to do different, if I want to be different than my mother or my parents, I have to also change. I have to let go of that resentment that I had towards her, and really, like, try to understand, her better, and so I can also be a good mother to my child. And all of those emotions that I used to feel back then as a kid came from that. It came from, holding on, carry on to this burden, that resentment my whole life, not being heard, not being heard. No one really cared about me. I was forced to actually raise myself, figure things out on my own, type of thing. And I carried it my whole life. So it really made me, it kind of stripped me of a lot of things, a lot of things, because I spent my life trying to figure myself out. I spent my life trying to understand me, or understand why we don't have a relationship. And I fought very hard to have, like, a very healthy relationship with my mother. But unfortunately, it comes a time where you have to say, okay, yeah, I think this is not gonna work, and I tried, you tried, it's just not meant to be, and I think I just stripped that, let me stick it out, and for the sake of society. But then when I sit back and look at it, I'm sticking it out, but I'm hurting. I'm sticking it out, and I have to deal with a lot of things behind closed doors that people don't know about. And it's a lot. I had to fight. It's a lot, and sometimes it is the best thing to do is to end our friendship with our parents. In a healthy way. It's not saying that you don't love them. It's saying, like, this is no longer working. The same person, we don't have the same energy, we don't carry the same spirit, I think people don't want to admit that sometimes our parents could be jealous of us. Our mother could be our worst enemy. Our parents can be our enemy. They could be a challenge for us because anytime you fighting your parents, it's a very tough and challenging battle. And you got to remember, it's not your parents you fighting; it's the spirit that's governing that vessel that you're fighting. And that's where I needed to get to, that mindset, instead of me being angry and upset and upset about what she did to me and how she just do things to me and stuff like that. And I start to look at it from as I'm healing, and I start to look at it as, okay, I'm not really fighting her. I'm fighting the spirit behind that vessel. So it's not really her I'm fighting. And sometimes we don't have to fight. What we need to do is take a step back and kind of look at, how did she grow up? What made her this way? What did she go through for her to act this way? You understand what I'm saying? And I had to really look at, my mother's childhood. This is a young person that became a mother at a young age. She didn't really have a childhood, So, and my father too. So they don't really, there's a lot of things, in the parenting department, I felt like they lack. And it's not their fault, because if you really look at it, if I want to go back, not only look at her childhood and look at my grandmother's her mother's childhood, it was like it's a cycle, and I realized that the cycle was, they don't really, it's like everyone is for themselves, they really cater to the masculine energy. You as a female, you don't really have, to me, I felt like you don't have any value, and that's how they treat themselves, because they put themselves second, and it's the truth, because the men that is in that family, including my father, which is very toxic also, toxic, abusive and stuff. So it's like, this is what they know. They don't know anything else but that. So, and here I am, different. I stand up for myself. I talk back and I say, no, I don't want this, or no, I'm not going to accept this. No, you're not going to treat me like this. It was an issue to her. It was an issue. I don't think they knew how to take it, because, they grew up to whatever the masculine energy say goes, whatever people do, you accept. So they don't really stand up for themselves. Like, my mother doesn't stand up for herself. She's in a very toxic relationship herself, and she's been in that, for many years, and that's all she doesn't know anything else. She's already accustomed to that. And so, on my spiritual journey, I had to really, even though we had a lot of disagreement, a lot of fights, a lot of back and forth, toxic, and it had a lot to do spiritually, but I had to really take a step back and actually become the adult, because I was, like I said, I was forced to become an adult at a very, very young age, because I had to raise myself. My mother wasn't, there. I mean, she was here, but it's like she wasn't there to raise me. And it's part of it is because the family, the bloodline, this is who they are. And that's the mindset I had to get into. I had to get into that mindset to see that, this is not their fault. This is who they are. This is how they was raised. They don't know anything better. This is a new generation, and we in two different generations. So it doesn't excuse the things, the pain, the things that was done. I don't condone it. I still don't condone it, but I just feel like, for me to have a better relationship with my own child, which is breaking the cycle, I have to separate or divorce my parents, because I do not want that energy that they carry for me to hold on to that, for me to pass that on to my own child, and for my child to pass that on to his own children when he has his own children, But again, it's one of those things that we don't really talk about, because I feel like when it comes to our parents, they get a pass, and you see it a lot. Sometimes people deal with a lot, and I actually have a lot of clients that deals with that. They don't really talk about it. They just deal with it because, like they said, what are you going to do? This is your parents. But I feel like this is something that we need to address, we need to talk about, because it is affecting us. It is affecting, not only affecting the way we parent ourselves, it affects the way we get in relationship. It affects the way that we choose our partner. The relationship we have with our fathers, our mothers, does affect the way we choose our next partner, our next husband, our next mate, our next friendship. It does affect us. So I think that is something that we do need to address. We need to talk about, boldly, not in a disrespectful way, saying, oh no, I don't need my mother. Oh no, not that. It's just, I think it's like you have to, become the parent yourself, because you have to kind of look at your parents as children. When you reach that healing level, you got to look at them as children, which they're not children, not to be disrespectful. You got to look at them as children, and you got to learn how to love them differently. Where they're supposed to love you differently, it's like you're teaching them how to love differently, in a healthy way, how to build a bond in a healthy way, something they probably never seen before, to have a sit down conversation with your daughter or with your son, or to be able to create a safe space to express how you feel, to express how they make you feel, to even apologize. Some parents doesn't even like to, they don't even believe in apologizing. I'm from the Caribbean, and that's something that I have never seen any Caribbean Haitian parent do, is apologize. Even if they're wrong, you're not supposed to or allowed to say, oh no, you're wrong. And that's been going on for so long, that to the point that it's affecting us, growing up now, it's affecting us. And I feel like this is something that we need to talk about. This is something that we need to address. Sometimes we do have to, take the role as being the nurturing parent. Even though we didn't get that side of them, we got to teach them how to nurture. We got to teach them how to love properly, how to have healthy love, how to, and it's through the way we, treat our own children. If we are mothers ourselves or parents ourselves, it's the way we treat our own children. They could see, there is a big difference. You understand what I'm saying? Because like sometimes when your parents is so used to toxicity, toxic relationship, friendship, whatever, and they never ever address anything, they could go years without talking to any of their siblings, and everyone is okay without talking to each other, not even addressing the situation. Or my father doesn't talk to any of his siblings. He don't talk to any of his siblings. And even though my grandmother is here, way before she had dementia, she had an opportunity to, say, okay, this needs to stop. Y'all need to put this to rest, and y'all need to come together as one because we're a family. Nothing, so it's just like no one talked to each other, whatever, whatnot, to the point when even when I have issues with my siblings, or when my siblings have issues with each other, we could go years without talking to each other. So just to show you like how is that translate, like it's transitioning to us, because they, even though they see like my father would know, okay, so and so doesn't talk to so and so, or so and so doesn't have a relationship with this sibling doesn't have a relationship with that sibling. Instead of like saying, okay, you know what, you guys, we need to stop this, we need to break the cycle. No, he carry on the same way that happened with his siblings. He felt like, oh, it's okay, well, I don't talk to my siblings, so you guys don't have to talk to each other. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, this is crazy. You understand? So it's so unfortunate. This is how some families, this is the family that we were born into. It's toxic. It's not healthy at all. The adults become, very, very toxic. Sometimes the parents are the one that's causing the conflict between my brother from my mother's side. If I don't talk to my mother, my brother won't talk to me. But I know it's coming from my mother. She would stop him from talking to me. If I talk back to my mother, then my brother, you will see like, okay, me and my brother start talking. And it's so weird, and it's like, it's very discombobulated, it's very toxic, it's I don't like it, and I always felt like we hold the name family, but we don't have the energy as family, we don't have the spirit as family, we don't have the environment is not family, we just have the name family. It's just like we're just related by blood, but we're not really family. You understand? It's so weird to me. And sometimes you gotta remove yourself from that and create your own family. Like I built a very healthy relationship with my child, with my son, as now he's a teenager. We have a very healthy relationship. If I do something, I apologize. If he does something, he will apologize. I nurture him, I love him, because he's a teenage boy. In this environment, I don't want my son to grow up don't know what love is, or nurture, being nurtured by a mother. Especially I was a young mother myself. I feel like I'm just now learning how to be a healthy mother. It is sad to say, it's not my fault. Like I said, I kind of grew up alone myself. I've been alone my whole life, and it's funny because I feel more connected to my cousins. Growing up, I grew up with a lot of my little cousins, and I feel more of a connection with my cousin than some of my siblings. Not all of my siblings I have a connection with. And it didn't used to affect me. It used to affect me back then, but now it doesn't really affect me, because I've learned to accept that, family is a connection. It's not the title. You can have the title as family, but if the connection is not there, then to me, we're not really family. We just related. I have a very strong connection with my cousins that I grew up with. They're younger than me, but we grew up together, and I feel more of a connection with them than some of my siblings. Not all of my siblings I feel like a connection. And I used to try to, like, try to talk to my sisters or be there, or try, but it's just like I was forcing it, so I stopped. I stopped because if the connection is not there, it's just not there, and I'm not gonna force it. And that's what I had to learn. And that made me, build a relationship outside of my family, but have my own relationship with my own child. I want my son to be raised with love. I want him to know how it feels. I want him to know, like, he's not alone, whatever he's going through, especially mental illness is like skyrocketing. He can always call me and talk about it. Like, my son would literally call me, like, if he's having a bad day, or if he needs some type of direction, he will really call me and, like, okay, mom, I need a reading, or I need, he will come to me like, I need a reading, I need something, and to have that relationship with my son, and to, it's like, it's therapy. It's like I'm his therapist, mother, friend, everything. And I love it because I learned so much about him. And as I'm helping him, it feels like I'm helping my child self, like my younger self. And the more I do it, and the more I start to really forgive my mother, because I start to understand, like, this is what she didn't have, so she would never, no matter how hard I try, she would never understand. She would never see it, because she wasn't raised on that. And I have to forgive her, and I have to forgive her, but still, not try to change her, but let her go, because it's just, she's already stuck in her ways. And when our parents is stuck in their ways, we gotta we have to have healthy boundaries with them. I want to give him something that I didn't have, and I tell him that all the time, and he see the relationship with my parents. He see how toxic it is and stuff, and he kind of stay away from that, which is a very good thing. So we just focus on our relationship, and he knows, like, he could see the different generation, and it's crazy, because when we don't heal our wounds from our mother or our father, it does affect us. I know I had to heal my father wounds, because I realized the reason that some of my relationships in the past didn't work was because of my father wounds. And when you don't heal certain wounds when it comes to your father, you sometimes will attract or get into a relationship with people that's similar, like men that are similar to your father or have similar trait. It's like your father. You're dating your father, because some men will have something similar, and that's what attract us to those type of toxic men, because of our father, because they're literally showing us a part of us that is unhealed, a part of us that we need to work on. It's crazy, because as you grow, you become a parent, and you're healing your spiritual journey. You start realizing these things. You start seeing the patterns, in the men, how similar they are with your own father, and sometimes, even though your father probably won't acknowledge the damage, the trauma that they cause in your life, it's like, it's okay. So you start to attract that, yourself. You start to attract those things yourself, and it's okay, you know, if your father treat the woman in his life, your mother or stepmother or whatever, or even yourself, with no respect. So when a man kind of like disrespect you, it seems like it's nothing to you because you already accustomed. It's like your father already programmed you to accept that, and you don't know you're doing it until you start to heal, and you're like, wait a minute, where did this behavior come from? And when you take a step back and you're healing it, every trauma is linked to your parents. Every last one of your trauma has some type of link to your parents. And that's why I always encourage healing. You know, I always encourage healing because I feel like when you heal, you could see better. You understand? You don't have to carry that resentment, that anger, you know, everywhere you go. Back then, when I get into a relationship, I normally would jump into the masculine energy. So basically, I would jump into that masculine energy to protect me, you know. So, which always leave my relationships in shambles because I'm always in that masculine energy, and I'm like, okay, why did this relationship then work? Why did this then work? And I'm sitting here saying, well, it's their fault, it's their fault, it's their fault. And I'm like, wait a minute, you know, as I'm healing, and I'm like, wait a minute, it's, you know, it's me. You know, I'm carrying my trauma with me. I'm wearing it as a shield. So I never got to really like detach myself from that survivor mode, and, you know, having all these boundaries, you know, being in that masculine energy and stuff. And I never really got rid of that. So I tend to, like, you know, I get in a relationship and I jump into that masculine just to protect me, to protect my heart. And as you know, as I heal and I start to realize, you know, I need to nurture myself better. You know, I need to love myself. You know, I need to sit down and talk. Okay, why is this not working out with us? What is going on with us? You know, back then it would have been like, okay, well, all right, okay. You know, so now I'm like, okay, let's talk about this. Like, what's going on? You know, did I do something you didn't like, or, you know, you did something that I didn't like? Let me address the issue. And if it can be fixed, we move on. We move on. If it's not, we go our separate ways with no, you know, ill intent or anger or anything, but just like, okay, it just didn't work out, you know. I take what I need to take from the relationship and we move forward. Same thing when it comes to friendship too. You know, I had a friendship for a very, very long time that didn't end well, you know, and I carried that anger and I carried that resentment along for so long, to the point like I closed myself off to friends, to meeting new people. Like, okay, I don't trust anybody, this and that. And then it's like, you know, as I'm healing, I'm like, yeah, it's time for me to put this down. Yeah, that was a lesson. You know, I took the lesson. I start looking at things in a different lens. I'm not going to carry this, you know, everywhere I go. Not everyone is that particular person. Not everyone is like that. That was something that I needed to learn, or that was something that person needed to learn, and we go our separate ways. No ill intent. Okay, that was so long ago. I need to leave some of these baggage, put them down, let them go, and, you know, move on, because I'm not going to close myself off from meeting new people, because there's like billions of people in the world, and I'm not going to let one little friendship screw that up for me and possibly close myself off from a good, you know, a friendship, you know, my real friendship, you know. And I was in that energy for so long, like protecting myself from people, because I kept getting hurt so much, and not knowing, like, it was me. I was putting myself in a position to keep getting hurt, you know, and not seeing the red flags and ignoring them until, like, the people start, okay, well, you ignoring the red flags, let me hurt you more. So, and then that's when I remove myself, and then I get angry, I get bitter, and I'm upset, you know, and I'm carrying that energy around, and it's blocking me, you know, with possibility, like new people, new soulmate, new soul family, new friendships. Not everyone is that person. Not everyone is my father. Not everyone is that ex or whatever. I need to give people a chance. It's like we go through these things, we learn from them, and it's for us to say, okay, what did we learn? How did this affect us? What is it that caused this issue? What did you didn't pay attention to and stuff? What did you ignore? And once you figure that out, you're like, oh, okay. And you start to see like some of these things are not put in place to hurt you, but to really help you grow. Because if I didn't let go of the burden of the baggage that I am still healing from, and I'm still letting go of when it comes to the relationship with my mother, I can't be the mother that I need to be for my child, because I'm holding on to so much resentment, so much anger. You understand what I'm saying? So I had to make peace with myself. Literally make peace with myself, not trying to rebuild anything, or not trying to hold that over her head, or trying to punish her, punish me. It's just that, okay, it's two different generation. My mindset and her mindset is not the same. So I need to become a better person, a better mother for my child. I can't change the past, but I can change the way I react now. I can change now how I react to certain things. You understand? So and I feel like that's the thing. So even though we can cut off or divorce, I would say, our parents, but we don't need to hold on to what they do, what they did, the resentment, the anger. We also have to heal that, let that go, and so we can allow new energy. Because it's like having these things, carrying these things around. It's like we forever carrying a book bag full with a bunch of heavy weight. Can you imagine putting a bunch of weight in a book bag and putting it on your back and walking around with that? That's like, it's really stopping you from seeing things in a different way. It's really stopping you from from new things to enter your life, and you just stuck in this loop, this non-cycle over and over and over again, and never addressing anything, and just go our separate ways or whatever, and not open to address and speak your truth. Rather the person agree or not, rather my mom agree or not, if she's open to talk our differences, yes, I'm gonna say, this is what you did, this is what I didn't like, this, no hard feelings, but I'm just not gonna allow anyone to treat me like this anymore. You understand what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with saying that. To me, I feel like not only it's helping you also helping her. You understand? So that's the space that I'm learning, I'm transitioning in. I went from angry resentment to okay, I need to let this go. This is clearly holding me back. I need to let this go, and start focusing on the relationship that is in front of me, which is my child. The lovely relationship that I have with my child, the beautiful, magnificent relationship that I have with my child. That is magnificent relationship. It's healthy, it's loving, it's nurturing. We talk, even though we have days that's we don't talk to each other, or he's upset, or I'm upset, or I'm having a bad day, or we always have an understanding at the end of the day. We always find a way to we talk it out. We try not to go days and months and weeks and without being so upset. So and to me that is beautiful. So that change and that transition was needed, because if I couldn't have that with my parents, why not have it with my child? Why not teach my child how to have that for their child in the future, you know. And that's how sometimes I think that's how we break the cycle, you know, by communicating, by talking, by understanding one another. We don't have to agree, but we can understand. Like, yeah, you know, I think back then I was I felt out of place because I was different. You know, I was different. My mindset was never like my parents or my family. Never. That's the reason I felt like I was out of place, because my mindset wasn't like them. I didn't think like them. I didn't act like them. So that energy and that mindset caused me to be out of place, like disconnect. And I used to run away from that, and I used to force myself to be something that I'm not, to be like them, to be accepted. And now I'm like, no, I don't want to be accepted by anybody. You know, I want to be who I am, like who I truly am, without hiding it. You know, speaking my mind, speaking my truth, saying what I feel. Having a certain conversation with my son made me realize, like, it made me look at him very differently. Like, I didn't know how spiritual my son was until I started having conversation with him. I didn't know how, like, I knew he's very smart, very intelligent, but metaphysically, like spiritually, he was very, surprisingly, he was very, like, very intelligent, because my son is very quiet. You know, he observed more, but with him being an observer, it allowed him to pick up on things, you know. So speaking to him and creating a space for him to actually express himself and talk, I got to learn so much about him, and he reminded me so much of myself, my younger self. So that is something that is beautiful to me, watching him say things, you know, spiritually, or I'm teaching him certain spiritual stuff and him picking it up like that, you know. Like, I don't have to explain myself, go into depth, you know, to things, and he just pick it up. Like, he's like, oh yeah, I know, Mom, you know. Or he'll give me his point of view, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I think that's what having a toxic parent, a toxic mother taught me, is to be a healthy mother for my own child. That's what it taught me. That's what that taught me. How to nurture myself and nurture my own child. Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I really love talking about stuff like that. I feel like it can help not only me, it can help someone else, because I have clients that also goes through the same thing, and I know sometimes we're afraid to say things that we feel like we might get judged if we say it regarding our parents, but there's healthy ways we can have those conversations without being disrespectful or without being angry, you know. And yeah, so thank you guys for watching my videos, and subscribe, like, comment. If you're looking for a spiritual advisor, click the link in the bio, and please purchase your dream journal. And yes, I am still giving away one free dream journal to a winner. Email me your short story, a very short, because I have a lot that I have to read. So just keep it real short, and then I'll pick a winner and I'll send you a free journal, a dream journal. And yeah, so thank you guys for watching. Like I said, until next time, it's always a pleasure. Bye. I know I talk about spiritual healing a lot. I know I do. But it's something that is very soothing for me, and it's something that's very healing on the spiritual journey. You don't know how much baggage you've been carrying your whole life until it's time for you to heal. So this is why I always encourage healing. I encourage my clients to heal, because as I heal, you heal, we all heal a bloodline, and we can shift the energy in our lives and in our environment. This is why I always encourage healing. And another thing, you having problem with your dreams, not remembering your dreams, can't remember your dreams, or just basically your dreams tells a story and you just not understanding your dreams. Don't forget to pick up my dream journal.